Ever wondered what happens when a Marine veteran and an ex-con decide to rob a corrupt mayor on election night? Buckle up for The Instigators, a movie where every plan goes hilariously awry and chaos reigns supreme. Welcome to Movies Unboxed. Today, we're diving into the comedic whirlwind that is The Instigators. Buckle up as we follow Rory and Cobby through a series of misadventures that'll have you laughing out loud. Get ready for an explosive ride filled with outrageous heists and unexpected twists. In the bustling city of Boston, where the history is rich and the weather is unpredictable, we meet our unlikely heroes. Rory, a divorced Marine veteran whose life plans are as organized as a toddler's toy box, and Cobby Murphy, an alcoholic ex-con whose criminal history is about as impressive as a poorly executed magic trick. Rory, with his own brand of chaotic genius, decides to rob the corrupt Mayor Miccelli of exactly $32,480. That's right, precisely $32,480. Not $32,000, not $33,000, but exactly $32,480. Why such a specific amount? Rory believes that this exact sum is the key to fixing his life. Imagine trying to explain that to your therapist. Enter Cobby Murphy, whose criminal resume reads like a guide to bad decisions. Despite Mr. Kelly, the bartender who doubles as his life coach, advising him to stay out of trouble, Cobby finds himself pulled back into the criminal world. It's like getting life advice from someone who also serves drinks. Mixed messages all around. As election night approaches, Mayor Miccelli is throwing a lavish celebration at the wharf. This isn't just any party. It's a bribe bonanza where Miccelli plans to collect more cash than a high-stakes poker game. Mobsters Besegai and Dechico, who are as subtle as a bull in a china shop, recruit Rory and Cobby for the heist. Alongside them is Scalvo, their so-called strategist, who is as useful as a chocolate teapot. Scalvo's plans are so convoluted that even he seems confused. The heist kicks off with Rory and Cobby sneaking into the wharf's kitchen. They expect a smooth entry, but instead, they're met with a packed event full of well-dressed people who look like they belong in a fashion magazine rather than a heist movie. The safe they were aiming for has already been cleaned out by Miccelli's crew, making their entire plan seem like a comedy of errors. Scalvo decides to improvise by robbing Miccelli's entourage. He grabs a bracelet that's worth less than a cheap souvenir from a tourist trap. It's like trying to rob a bank and ending up with a handful of Monopoly money. Things take a turn for the ridiculous when the chief of police arrives, leading to a shootout that turns the wharf into a scene from a low-budget action film. Scalvo and the chief end up shooting each other, creating a mess that even a bomb squad would struggle to clean up. Cobby, who's been shot in the shoulder, and Rory, whose idea of escaping involves more chaos than strategy, make a hasty exit in an armored car. They soon discover there's a guard still in the vehicle, making their escape look like a slapstick comedy. It's like trying to sneak out of a party while the host is still watching. Desperate for a place to lay low, Rory and Cobby end up at Mr. Kelly's house. Instead of finding peace, they face a standoff with Booch and Kalani, Scalvo's associates who plan with the precision of a blindfolded dart player. Booch and Kalani cut the gas line at Mr. Kelly's house, creating a situation where Rory and Cobby need to make a dramatic escape. The house explodes in a fiery blaze, and Rory and Cobby's exit looks like a scene straight out of an over-the-top action movie, minus the professionalism and with added chaos. As they regroup, Rory decides it's time to call in Dr. Rivera, who has no idea she's about to become an unwitting accomplice. Rory drags Cobby to Rivera's house, turning it into an impromptu emergency room. Rory takes Rivera hostage to treat Cobby's wound. Rivera, who was just hoping for a quiet evening, is thrust into the midst of a chaotic heist. As they patch up Cobby, Rivera decides to join their wild ride, leading to a high-speed chase that feels more like a carnival ride than a police pursuit. Their chase through the streets involves dodging traffic, narrowly avoiding collisions, and encountering a series of increasingly bizarre situations. The trio then takes refuge in Mr. Kelly's now-abandoned bar, only to face yet another crisis. Toomey, the relentless investigator from the Special Operations Unit, arrives and takes Rivera and the precious bracelet. Rory and Cobby are surrounded by police and decide to make a dramatic exit. They cut the gas line again, causing the bar to explode in a spectacular blaze. Their signature move seems to be blowing things up. Every problem has an explosive solution. With the bracelet's combination memorized, Rory and Cobby concoct their next brilliant plan. Disguise themselves as firefighters and set off the fire alarms at City Hall. They waltz into City Hall in full firefighting gear, their plan to cause a full-scale evacuation. They break into the mayor's office, discover millions of dollars in illicit cash, and find 2 hard drives full of evidence against Miccelli. Alan Flynn, Miccelli's counsel, offers to testify in exchange for the drives, adding yet another layer of complexity to their already chaotic scheme. Just when their luck seems to turn, the police surround City Hall and open fire. Cobby, who seems to have a magnet for trouble, gets shot again. In the same shoulder, no less. Rivera negotiates with the police, leaving Rory and Cobby to push the safe out the window. The crowd outside scrambles for the cash like it's the last sale of the century. It's a chaotic scramble reminiscent of Black Friday, with everyone frantically trying to grab their piece of the loot. In a grand finale, Rory and Cobby escape in a fire truck, only to be confronted by Toomey. They offer him the hard drives in exchange for their freedom, but Toomey has them taken into custody. Meanwhile, Besegai and Dechico attempt a desperate escape to Canada on foot, making their way through snowy terrain. Their journey is an epic disaster as they face the harsh wilderness, ultimately freezing to death. Miccelli, who also tries to flee to Canada, is arrested in the process. New Mayor Mark Choi discovers the hard drives and decides to keep the money for himself. Choi's decision ensures that Rory and Cobby are let go, as long as they stay out of trouble. Rory finally reconnects with his estranged son, and Cobby makes a heartfelt visit to Rivera's place, demonstrating that even in the midst of chaos, there's room for redemption. In a mid-credit scene, we find Besegai and Dechico frozen solid in the wilderness. Their failed attempt to sneak into Canada becomes a cautionary tale of epic proportions. If you're going to go out, make sure it's memorable, even if it's for all the wrong reasons. Thanks for tuning in to Movies Unboxed. If you enjoyed this wild ride, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more movie recaps. See you next time.